Welcome to the lovely IHP community and the 5D collective. As today is a day to honor real parents, so real fathers, real mothers that are fathers, and real days that are parents. Let's remind ourselves that securely attached, healthy self-worth men, women days are real because they take their emotional job and their nervous system seriously, and they're actually taking it so seriously that they know how to forgive. And some are not ready, which is why I love you, Patrick Tian, man. He's out there for the ones who are not ready. The childhood trauma survivor who's still healing with him and who is still going through the process of grieving that they did not get a child-centric environment. And so part of the grieving process is a lot, and he has all the explanations for you. I don't have to grieve, as I'm a securely attached, self-led person who knows that emotionally immature people, and I'm also a mystic, have chosen to commit to their fear because there's a bounty full of pseudo-intellectuals that I've been spotlighting, which is why I'm going to try to remind myself to spotlight educational podcasts. So Terry Real, he's on YouTube. So is Patrick Tiahan, and so is Gabor Mate. Ron Siegel, you'll find him on an ICBM. So let's remind ourselves, or in case you didn't hear, what a addiction is and why the question is not about the addiction, but what pain is being hidden. And when you see an avoidant man and woman and or they and ambivalent and disorganized on screens all allowing themselves to continue making it look like they are doing great, I just know that the ones who want the pain point, because I've met them, I had a conversation recently that made me aware of people looking up to pseudo-intellectuals, like actually, like they's like, no, but they're honorable, Maria. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try and break down the brain science to you just in one way. I respect all human beings. Every one of us has walked a path, but I just want you to know, since you're in the developmental years of your manlyhood, that that is not a person you want to actually copy. And I will explain the brain science. And I explained to him the integrated of the brain. But even with that, like when I get told neuroscience, haha, everyone has something to believe in, you'll understand the ones who are the cowards that don't go to Patrick Tiahan, but instead they crap on his content. Also, when they want to try and dismantle the modern day therapists, they also don't want to do the workout. So we don't need any brothers or sisters or siblings that are emotionally immature at IHP. When they do come around, we know how to reiterate consistently with love that which is healthy boundaries. And typically, as Dr. Daniel Fox points out, those who do not choose to get out of their maladaptive patterns of behavior, drinking, drugging, fucking, inner-outer critic, drama kings and queens, self-sabotage, which they say is not self-sabotage, but again, they're thinking everybody wants to heal their trauma. Not everybody does. So when you, again, meet 3D, 4D, they will at some point, shape, or form ensure that they can disengage from consistently interacting with the ventral energy of those of us who are in the expansion and growth mode, because we love more, not less. We live more, not less. We don't numb. We don't do pseudo-alive. We live aliveness, okay? So we actually know moderation. We have a good time. We wake up. We are emotionally invincible. The mindset. And you say, yep, I got a heart. It's a muscle. I got a gut. It's a gut. It's also part of muscles, right? I don't know. And I got a brain. Any behavior that gives you temporary relief, temporary pleasure, but in the long run causes negative consequences, and you can't give it up. Despite those negative consequences, thank you, Gabor Mate, he says it's not the question of why the addiction, it's why the pain. And the pain is from the childhood stuff, because as Bezel van der Kolk points out in one of his quotes, when you are traumatized, abused, neglected, you start developing heartache and gut wrench as it gets expressed somewhere in the midline of your body. That's where the trauma is experienced. There's more than just that. So again, we take seriously, I do, inspiring human potential, and I'm a securely attached, self-led mystic. And I'm a person who does come with God, Jesus, and Holy Spirit. And Buddha and I have a thing. I make fun of suffering. He makes fun of me. and we all sing together. Ventral vagal portfolio of toning exercises is what yoga helps, not bringing demons out of you. But trauma charges, as Peter Levine points out, are stored in your muscles, bones, and tissues. Mindfulness and meditation, they support integration of the brain. But as Dr. Daniel Siegel points out, when things come up, those parts of self, states of self, that's when you want to core, narrative, relational, and solo self, get yourself with EMDR, chart parts, or somatics. Once you have the 9 domains of integration, then you're finally ready to be the real Pinocchio. And that's because finally you're an integrated brain. So when I see, again, that fear will continue, it's because there's boys and girls that are growing up, 20, 30, and they look up to people that are half-brained. And they let me know, and I let them know the brain science, and they say, nah, but I actually want this because I do believe life to be hard, and you're making it sound like it's easy. And I say nothing because they just told me I don't want to window welcome to my emotional plane. So they're not emotionally invincible in their mindset. It's okay. They can follow the ones who will let them pretend to be badass. So again, the elite tier of emotional invincibility are people who pursue self-mastery because we also pursue self-transformation. And as Ron Siegel, Psych D presents, when we are talking about acceptance, it is very important to talk about the difference between accepting experience as it is arising in our body. Maria has a 1-year-old, 3-year-old, all my child parts are here. And endorsing a certain kind of behavior, which is why the adaptive child part and biologically rude, emotionally immature people, they're not gonna change, but we know how to share our boundaries without needing to say anything, except for repeating ourselves. But it's not your time dumping, no. So at IHP, our community is 5D, mystic, spiritual, mindfully living, loving people who are taking care of ourselves. We are our whole self, just so we're clear, and then we're going to keep talking a little bit more. And we are securely attached, and we're creating resiliency in the restorative embodiment with the mindfulness practices that I get to share with you with paid content or mentorship or our workshops, retreats, and our masterclass. And the mindset skills, that's what you have, because you can sift sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, because you can use the inner growth mindset. And so while contemplating the unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds of life, you expand and grow more loving, because decentralizing of the self doesn't take you off your game. And there's human evolution. Thank you, Patrick McNamara. So for this mystic, that's why when I moved into having clairs, I didn't get confused. I just now knew my brothers and sisters, who are all angels. There's no Lucifer. I had already told God that. Now I have my oversoul, and I have twin flame, and then I got twin flames, and then I got soulmates. And they have the same heart that I have. And so they also long for the securely attached, healthy self-worth relationship that we all do, secure connections. So that's why whether you're a monoamory collective member or polyamory, we are all one and the same, because we know what vows and integrity are. We know what virtue is. We know what actually having that which is called true, genuine intellect and intelligence. Okay, so it's not the monoamory who still talk to you about cheating and tell you that step-parents don't love their children, which is quite insulting to those who will have had a step-parent who is a parent, again, and actually functions as one. So we all have strengths and weaknesses, but again, all parents in this day and era can go and learn how to become ventral vagal state. And the ones who don't want it, they make up bullshit stories and they just look pretty in suits. Men, women, and days. And the kids who look up to them, like I said, love has accepted defeat a long time ago. So when you meet a securely attached, self-led mystic who's a spiritual, mindful person, do you know what I know about inconsistencies? My teenage boyfriend, it's the 3rd cheating incident. I say, this is getting immature now. I'm 19, you're 20, I have things to do. You can just decide, because you don't have to be with me and I don't have to be with you. So inconsistency, cold shoulder, mixed messages, ups and downs, and merry-go-rounds are those fearful people who have fear of intimacy. And then they also have fear of vulnerability. And they also have fear of being their actual, genuine, open-hearted self in connection. So it's a sad story, but when that happens, you don't have love. Because love is I support you to fly and you support me to fly. Love lifts me up when I'm down and I lift you up when I'm down. And then when you're up, I lift myself and I'm flying with you. When I am in any way, shape, or form moody, you're love. There ain't no highs, there ain't no high and low enough. No, there's none of that shit. Because emotionally invincible or mentally invincible, which means I'm a functional inner child adult right here. So while we do love anyone who's a couple, good therapist, Terry Real. Because again, in any way, shape, or form, if you're committed to yourself, then you will be committed to any of that which is a therapist. Because again, people don't take ownership of their stuff. And you can't actually make biologically rude people hear you. But also, as Patrick Tiahan points out, that's not a relationship if you're doing. And really, what is this? Okay, so when I see people who think they are here to parent each other, I'm just like, no. I'm here to have fun with you and you're here to have fun with me. Okay, so that's the part of why when you say yes to emotional invincibility as a mindset, stick around for some stories. So I'm in the desert and I know what God is chiming in and sharing with me, and I'm not going to tell you the whole story because again, this is only part of it, and I'm going to leave in a little bit. And I'm very clear on what I'm being shared because I don't have questions. Also, the 4D just spreads rumors around. We all have walked a path of life. And again, none of us will say, oh my God, it's so hard to be alive. If you're used to putting mindfulness into practice with the mindset skills because you were raised with the self-led. So I'm a teenager, the 4th year, finally, the teenage boyfriend says to me, I'm not sure I want to be with you anymore. And I say, okay, you have a month to decide what you want to do because it's been 4 years almost. So I'm pretty sure you can make up your mind. And once he did, I was in a month's time very happy of the outcome. And that is because when you are a emotionally invincible mindset, it's not because of actual like strength. It's called a window of welcome. I'm just letting you know to your ventral vagal state, it's a window welcome to affect. So my sensations, my images, my behaviors, my affect, my meaning. I'm responsible of Maria's emotions, Maria's thoughts, Maria's physical life, and I have things to do and places to be. Okay, so while I'm in the desert, I'm just thinking nothing. I'm in this image trying to head a different way, but again, God chimes in, and as I am a vehicle, since I'm a mystic and spiritual, I don't have questions for God because there's no Lucifer, by the way. When I have the lower frequencies drop into my sphere, which has happened, they're not damaging because these are all, let me be respectful, these are all people who are martyrs, superiors, blamers, and victims and could go to Terry and Patrick Tiahan and get their lives together. And when they do come for consults, because they're brought to me, I will share, when you talk to me about this thing called relationship, I'll just keep it vague because there's a bountiful of them, between the twin flame people to the men, women, biases and stereotypes, all of it. Bring it all in. As I'm from teenager to now, the same shit. I'm just attachment trauma informed now and can tell you why Maria doesn't have drama and why people still think I do when I don't. But so I just say, if you feel this way, meaning you're afraid that you're going to get fucked with again, I don't think you understand what it means to be gentle with yourself and others, to believe in yourself and others, to know that anything is possible. And that every relationship, as Terry points out, is a leap of faith. And that you being able to sit within your own integrated brain, embodied self, and have your heart open as you continue to contemplate, wow, I'm breathing and I have life and I have love and I have myself and I have a bonus. It's called people around me. I can see the bigger picture of life, which is that there's no divine detour. It's not you are my person as long as no, it's actually the life, unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds, people. Okay, so my mammalian heritage wants one securely attached figure, but I'm a securely attached woman. It's a bonus to have a romantic partnership. This is how I'm going to bring it to you. I'm 20, a month after. I'm just happy that I'm single because I met a lot more better suitors, and that's how my life kept moving forward. So now that I'm attachment trauma informed, for me, I don't have a bitter, afraid of being fucked over in the ass and any of that bullshit that I keep seeing. I don't even have fear of anyone. I mean, really, again, the 1 to 22, they end up in prison, and the first 7 are poor human beings who got really shitty start. 7 to 14 are only the pseudo intellectuals who are charming the other idiots, which are the 1 to 7, and the 14 to 22, I'm sure they're charmed by the same idiots too, and they all hang out together and they all end up in prison, except for the 7 to 14, which is why I put them at the top of the volcano, and I surround them with therapists. But again, I don't need to do any of that because God's good. He wins, and that's it. So I know the future. So does Robert Sapolsky. And we know who alpha real men and alpha real women are. They don't play Russian roulette on screen and tell us they love their children. They also don't wither away in hell and allow themselves to waste any of their breath or their life because, again, of ignoring that which is a heart that longs to be connected, but that is afraid to. And that longs to think happy thoughts, but that doesn't think they are allowed to really Zen master your laundry. I don't even know where to begin with you. So the emotionally invincible mindset are the only people who are going to be here because there's no other way to use my brain. I'm not fake positive. I'm eustress. So I come after the therapist, and that's when I don't want to do it. You don't have to, but I come after the I took care of myself. And the I'm ready to love. So when someone tells me they want a relationship, a teenage boyfriend, okay, really, do you want this or not? Okay, so when someone says I thought you would change as they're breaking up, and I love all of the people in my life, I say, what? I told you I don't change. I don't understand. That's confusing. No, because, and they give you examples. So for me, Maria, I don't have anything to say except for when I've failed. It's not because I'm bad. It's because I can fail to successfully allow people to know that they are able to be safe. Because that's the part of where failure lies. But it isn't my job to open your heart because thank you, Jesus. Again, as he shares, it's their decision. And as attachment trauma educators share, the ones who want to have self-fulfilling prophecies, they're in rooms empty alone and deciding that they don't want it, and then they're just dragging a pain point around and wanting their not real story to keep moving forward, which is why the pseudo live people hang out all together, because they are used to drama king, drama queen stories, and they are used to also having pain, and then they're used to using excuses for why they're going to be continuing as Tom and Jerry do. And again, I'm seeing it with groups of people. So we have 2 groups. We got the young ones who are following pseudo-intellectuals and the ones who are not. And that's not something that is in a, no, it's normal. It's our human history has always evolved. So we have different storytellers. That's all. And now we know about the embodied brain. And so we know that Robert Sapolsky with Determined says that there's no free will. I say there is because you get to hear about different stories, but I also do know that there are those who will choose fear because they are actually at this moment in time flocking those pseudo-intellectual stories and replicating them and following pseudo-intellectuals out in the streets. I'm just saying, I've seen it with my eyes. And I haven't seen all 8 billion, but it's a small world after all. So our divide is clear. It's not good or bad because fear is consistently part of the journey, but what above all is that we have parents who don't take seriously going to Patrick Tian or Terry Real or Gabor Mate, and they follow the pseudo-intellectuals who are opening up their own schools, who are sciences of some sort, and they're making men, women, and theys who want to continue fitting our ancient ancestry's bill. That's why they call polyamory whores. Or they blame us, or they blame pronouns, or they blame groups of people for that which they call the unhealthy human beings. They then go ahead and talk about, again, step-parents as not knowing how to love us equally and stuff like that. So you will know when you find ignorance because they suffer life. And they will also be savior complex, spiritual bypassers, but above all, adaptive child part people who think they're brilliant while they're in destructive mode. And while they are, it's not destructive to me. I just get to hear the adaptive child part story. and how they've made up the story to actually just completely lock themselves in the dark sides of neuroplasticity, because that's what shame does. And so eventually you're just going to be a little wheel that the minute that I change one corner of something, you're going to be like, nah. So that's where they also isolate, like the flat earthers. And then they only make fun of by dismantling that which is trying to tell them they're wrong. And then they become a very, very small focus group. We're on the other end saying they have some valid points. They have some golden nuggets, but they're not using it effectively. We'll still use their golden nuggets, and then we'll continue building, since the earth is still here and the smart ones of us know how to look beyond, because we have a solution for everything and there's never a problem, because we evaluate all ends of a spectrum with an integrated brain. And that's why emotionally invincible people will spot the ones who are not it, and they will say mindset. It's not your thoughts. Yes, it is, because your thoughts are why you give yourself excuses. We all will make sense to ourselves. So I can give myself an excuse for why I'm repeating something like that avoidant who says, oh, well, we're all fucked up and I don't want to do journaling, mindfulness, or therapy. Because they say I'm doing a good job, so I'm wasting my money, and also I just don't want to do mindfulness or journaling. It's like if I said to myself, I don't want to do my back exercises because I decided that I don't need to. No, because I don't want to. So we can all, again, get sloppy, but sloppy is one thing. Acknowledging that we want to live life until we get old. Again, this is the other part. So anyone appreciate life? If you do, then you'll know what Sadhguru says is true. Whatever happens to you, you can either see it as a curse and suffer it, or you can see it as a blessing and make use of it. People who are not securely attached, they actually will say that this is not possible. What they will allow themselves to instead go through with is emptiness and isolation, which will become a self-fulfilling prophecy, because sometimes it will even lead these individuals to self-sabotage opportunities for connection. And I'm paraphrasing and changing a little bit up, but this is Megan Schmidt. So Janina Fisher says it's not self-sabotage, but because she works with the people who go. But the emptiness and isolation is a part of something else. Lynn Lyons, the pervasive sense of emptiness, global thinking, that all or nothing thinking. So when that rumination happens, it is really a hallmark of both depression and anxiety. So grief, trauma, depression manifests this way. So when you will be a person, again, Bessel van der Kolk, when you're traumatized, abused, neglected, you start developing heartache and gut wrench as it gets expressed somewhere in the midline of your body. That's where the trauma is experienced. There's patterns, and you don't heal shame in the psychotherapeutic ancient ways. So Stephen Porges shares a quote on that one, okay? So long story short, when I spot the ones who want the pain point, there's a variety. Some are securely attached, but they are with some type of rejection, abandonment, wound. When you see a very, very big story in front of you, and it's a consistent story, then you're going to know you got a person who's, again, chosen to stay what is really the 0-8-year-old codependent that didn't get a safe environment. And in fact, Patrick Tian shares what an unsafe environment is. I'm going to stop reading, though, because we have had plenty of that in our 3-minute short. As a mystic who's an empowered feminine who knows free will, thank you God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, I also know as a soul that we expand each other. So from the Akash source, Anima Mundi creatorship, to consciousness and to decentralizing of the self, and you being able to move beyond it. When you're in your mindful brain, that's why it's not hard to focus attention, be in the darkness of awareness, and then with kind intention, understand I'm evaluating something that I didn't want. Okay, but evaluating it means I'm not throwing a hissy fit. So when I got the desert, I got told it's not time. Okay, so now I got some other stuff going on. I got a nice chit chat going on where I'm sharing my frustration. I'm having my chat. And then finally I get to keep moving forward. Okay, and so this is where that aspect in and of itself is the free will that any one of us will be able to give each other. It's called, I give you a choice point and you give me a choice point. I get to be Maria in connection as myself, and I get to do the very thing that I think we looked at, take a leap of faith because of this and that being true, but above all because I believe in you. And I will believe that there are no divine detours, because that's a bullshit story, because people choose to be in each other's lives because they care to live a life together. So you don't actually say you love someone and then you send mixed messages. You don't get into a relationship with someone if you're not looking to be vulnerable, open-hearted, and to build a life together. If you're afraid, that's a different story. If you suffer, that's a different story. In the year 2025, it's very clear where people can go when that is happening. And when I've had people come to me as I've gotten older and older and older, and they continue to have the same dragged around pain point, and I say, you know, there's Terry Real, right? You know, there's Patrick Chan, right? You know, there's Terry Real, right? You know that they're available, right? You know, there's free content here, right? So again, you don't make anyone actually hear, hello, you have a choice. It's called love, not fear and suffering. So would you mind making it into a clear equation? I don't want love, Maria. I want to be able to drag my pain point around and just call life suffering. But can we do it? Since I'm speaking to your brain, genuine intellectual stuff, can we do it honestly? What do you think? So that's the one thing you'll notice. Emotionally immature people, because they're in a safety behavior, they're not hearing when you're telling them, because they don't know how to be objective of what they are choosing. That's why Determined, and Robert Sapolsky says we have the book, Free Will. So I'm going to stand with those who can be the grown-ups and know emotionally immature people have a choice. It's called therapy. And that's it. Once they go, then they will know how it is to be a functional child adult, and they will join us and have a good time, and they will disengage from saying that we're pretending to be happy in life. And they will actually know common sense, which is moderation is key, which is we all do everything, not just some things. So with that, when I think of what my body has brought up throughout the years, I've done a bunch of lovely, the art lab. I'm going to get to do another one, so we'll see what comes up in that one. Circumstances in the night, Mary laughing and handsome, and mirror an invasion of reflection of trust. That was the first sentence that came to me. The second one, the first event, I actually even lost something. That was the first event where they explained what happens when you're deleting words, and basically, I'm not going to share all of it, but I was very in love. I love synchronicities is what I'm trying to say. So when I lost what I lost, I knew that it was about the capacity to be able to let go, because that's that whole thing about detaching. And so I'm already aware of that as an enlightenment soul ager person. It's not hard, but that's, again, humanly speaking, secure attached 1-year-old right here. Okay, so Maria supports her own self because I have a ventral vagal state, because my panic attacks gave me plenty of practice. That's because that's exactly what you're doing, is reassuring yourself, and it's then expanding your window of tolerance to window welcome. Also, light body, light body, light body, light body, rainbow body, and all of that stuff. For any of you who are mystics, you know about it. And yes, I did have Kundalini awakenings with Twin Flame. Yes, one of the many. And I'm going to allow myself to remind you, you don't have to do anything. In fact, those who are just randomly doing things, I'm going to leave it alone, because, again, I'm not here for that. You cannot heal trauma with the wrong people. Stay away from negative and stupid people who have unhealthy self-soothing behaviors and low self-esteem. And if you don't stay away from them, then you'll be able to spot them and know how not to emulate them. And you'll also know how not to actually talk bad about them. But when a bunch of young people look up to that, and you say integrated brain is what you want to be, not a brain that doesn't know how to be wielded by yourself, and they still don't get it, you leave it alone, because that's the I chose fear, I choose to suffer, I choose my video games, my crappy drama series, my books, all of it. They choose everything that is in the low frequency, but it's not about the consuming of the content per se. It is, I choose that narrative. I'm choosing that I want to get rigid and upset in a modulated embodiment. That's the part. So it's not the activities. You can do all the activities, and actually you could even be practicing your prefrontal cortex workout, because that's exactly what a mindfully living, loving person would do, is get themselves out of their gut to their heart using prefrontal. But what I'm talking about is people who are like, no, it's amazing to think that humans are shit, that evil exists, to be able and just randomly not give shits about anyone. I think, wow, that's not something I actually look at as amazing. It means you're faking it, because all humans want at least one connection, and you really just want to make all people out to be shit so that you can be numb, which means that you are a person who doesn't know emotional invincibility, because you don't know how to be open-hearted with yourself, and then to know how to cry. Big girls cry, big boys cry, we all do. As an 11-year-old, I would have loved to meet genuine vulnerability in one of my hypnotherapy sessions, and I don't actually have the opportunity because I'm 45. So you don't meet people who are their real self unless they are able to be vulnerable with all of their child parts, and then to share that with you, and that's really fun. Candlelight illuminates damage beneath the feet with wave of lights. And so here's where we all will have walked a path. And I believe that there's also another sentence, let me see, that I got to get from one of the activities that I got to do, but I need to find it. So give me 1 minute. Let me remember, what was it? Yes, it was about time. It was about the time that we get to the gift of life and the miracle of life, to be able and share it. So we get to, the dance of true love is with higher self securely attached. When two lovers dance the beat of true love, it's like a merengue and a cha-cha-cha and a bachata. That's part of it, but that wasn't what I was looking for. But I don't think I'll be able to find it right now. So anybody watch, and I don't actually want to name the movie, but basically when you realize that life is lived because you're sharing it with another, and that the fear of losing someone is your mammalian heritage. Okay, so we all take a risk and a leap of faith when we're deciding to commit to a relationship, which is why the polyamory community, when you're securely attached, you're good. Even when you are facing uncertainty, is how I'm going to bring it to you. But if you are a not securely attached person, that's when you have not only a good need of a therapist, again, for your own self, not for anybody else, but also because there is this primal attached panic that happens. For those who don't know, Poly Secure is a good book. So is Poly Wise. But also remember that we have our Poly Fidelity vessel, which for some is equal to what they don't want. But what I'm going to let you know is the reason the monoamory community will continue to be dominant is because you need one human being to feel safe. If you ever get to choosing to feel, first of all, safe to be yourself. And that's why Terry Real says it's not really unfinished business. Let's redefine it to personal development. But to me, some people, they don't need Terry Real for that. It's different. It's basically, let's be sure to allow to keep growing, to keep live, to keep expanding, because not everybody is emotionally available and actually true. So when you meet the facades, they hide themselves from themselves. And so that means I got to being myself in protection, which means you're performing, which means you're stressed out, and I'm not. And you're stressed out because beneath the surface lies a scared 3-year-old who got not welcomed just the way they are and continues to feel, I'm gonna drop a shoe, I'm gonna make the wrong step, and if I do, I'm gonna lose. And that's why talking about it and then acknowledging it for what it is, unhealthy self-soothing due to unsafe childhood first 3 years of life and first 8. If you were an unsafe child, let me read Patrick Tian because he is so worth to read. A part of healing, he says, is the shock of realizing how unsafe we were as children. This is on his Instagram. He says, at some point, the more I processed it in therapy, the more he became to get hit with how unsafe he was. He says, to awaken to emotions in him that were stuck because of him having, like all of other abused kids, an unhealthy adult. So there was not a healthy adult to confirm what was going on. It's okay to be afraid. The reality test. So when you're codependent, you need reassurance because you're afraid. It's organically the job of the parent to understand emotional immaturity for what it is. If you're expecting your 0-8-year-old to be emotionally mature, you are not understanding. You're their only safe haven seeker base. So for you to call me stupid or a scaredy cat or to yell in my face when I'm in that developmental years, no. I'm allowed to be angry. I'm allowed to be sad. I'm allowed all of it. The gentle parenting, yes. You can say no, but you repair ruptures, and it's not about the no. So people who want to take all of modern day therapy out of context are the ones who don't understand, because they're the same ones who go crap on Patrick Tiahan's content, like that asshole who plays Russian roulette and tells me he loves his kids while talking about step parents as if they're monsters. I'm like, wow, okay then. But I know some people who think like you do. I feel sad for those people, but I see that they're all still out there in the streets. So again, some people will choose fear. They will choose not to be emotionally invincible, and that's okay. They don't have to, because we don't want them to be around us anyways. They don't know emotions because they're not saving their inner child from hell, and they're telling us that they know how to be a parent. No, you don't. You're actually a scary monster because that's what you got, and that's sad. There's no monsters in the sky. There's no Lucifer. There's only the people who don't want to get healed. And as long as they're around, every child out there is actually in danger of meeting them. So let's just make sure that we walk a walk and talk a talk. I do follow Jesus always. Forgive, they do not know. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. Turn the other cheek. Remember, Maria, your brothers and sisters don't cast stones. Don't worry, Jesus. I know how not to cast a stone. I know what it means to be a person of virtue and integrity, while people will like to look at us and think that we don't know. And I'll be in my prefrontal cortex with no shame, and I won't shame a person who needs a person to turn the other cheek when they don't even know what fucking hit them in a matter of a millisecond, and they have consistently been shamed their entire life, and someone wants to say, no, Maria, they're choosing. They're not choosing to have borderline personality. They're not choosing to have narcissism. They're not choosing where their childhood began. And Kylie, I respect. She's healing borderline personality and narcissism. And I don't respect a man who wants to use the coined phrase lack of imagination for evil. But I know who that man is for, like all the other men and women who are out there. For the same fearful ones that I met when I was a kid growing up. And they're all the same cowards. And that is where they stay, which is why anytime I hear the name Lucifer, I'm like, there's no monster in the sky, but sure, keep on acting like you think you're a badass. There's no badass in front of me. And I'm not able to do anything because I'm a 4'9" woman. And I got taught by God how not to play a know-it-all. And I'm also a 4'9" woman. So the stories, the emotions that have to go underground at the time, he says, I believe good healing comes from bringing them back up when the person is, so the individual, in a good enough space to tolerate, like Patrick Tian, Peter Levine, and Patrick McNamara is who I was thinking about, but Bezel Van der Kolk, Janina Fisher. So once you can contain the sensations, the images, the behaviors, the affects, and the meanings, now you're ready to take a look with love at yourself and the neutrality, and so you're healing that shame and you're getting out of the performance and the act, and you're finally beginning to just say, this fucking mask, get out of my way. I don't want you. I want a life. I want a meaningful life with people that I love, and I know that I'm good enough, because that's what it means when you're healed from this bullshit shame that isn't bullshit for the people who got it which is why I respect Patrick Tian. He doesn't forgive, but his community needs him. And that's because he's at least making them into real men and real women and real days, like a Terry Real, who talks about conditions. I don't have conditions, but there are conditions. You respect Maria. And that's with a lot of different ways. But there's, a lot of also quote unquote wiggle room. Because the minute that I've seen your hand and the minute that I've understood what's going on, again, I won't be shaming you. I won't be putting up with bullshit. I will be able to reiterate healthy boundaries and create a secure connection with you, which is what I've done with all my Oversoul members. The ones who don't like it, that's not a big deal. The ones who think I'm a whore, I don't know vows, I don't know integrity, the ones who think I'm weak, that I'm a drama king or queen, the ones who think that I've suffered like they have, the ones who want to say to you who you are, you let them say. Like Gary Vee points out, 99% of people who judge you, they don't know what the fuck is going on, and they will, like my facade friend and any pseudo-intellectual and half-brain, assume that they know what everyone is and that they know what's right and that they know how to do emotions and thinking. Do you? For everybody out there. Wow. That's fascinating. You leave it alone because, again, the minute somebody actively thinks they can feel the emotional experience of your 0-1-year-old and your 3 to 7-year-old, they can't. It's impossible because they've been determined with their first 8 years of life. And so they're arrogant and they're a liar, and they want the people who instead tell them, we are this. Here's what our image looks like. Here's what our words will say. Here's what our group. Hey, flat earthers, you having a good time as you try to probably disprove what Neil deGrasse just proved again? And that's it. So when you hear rebel, we're different, we know, whatever, or you see them hanging out on the Peter Pan's Island, you know who they are. They have Wendy, and they like to just use Wendy. So I like to bring it all in, but I know where my lovely sciences are and spiritual people are, and then I know where the other people are. So the other people, though, they're there for the ones who, again, trauma memory, it's really painful. And that is what I want to keep trying to remind myself to bring to you, because I had a little speck of trauma memory in one of my lovely educational certificate courses. And when I felt it, I remember, again, the heart and gut wrench, it's right here. And Bethany Brand and Ruth Lanius made me aware of what it looks like and feels like torn apart. So somebody's tearing apart in the midline, and that little bit of trauma memory that I had was very sharp. It was like a little spikety spike. It made me very sad, and then I understood. And so also we have different soul age groups, but that's when I understood why it has to be the person who wants to go to therapy. It has to be the person who takes it seriously. It has to be the person who has healthy self-worth, emotionally mature people who don't say they're choosing to be bad, they're choosing to do drugs, they're choosing to drink. They're not choosing anything. And we're not patting people on the back. They're not choosing to have maladaptive patterns. So emotionally mature people are having conversations. Emotionally immature are not. They are either creating stigma, stereotypes, or continuing the ancient day news, and or yelling at each other, and or just doing a bunch of other stuff. So Patrick Tian is for anybody who needs him. I'm not here for people who need the therapist. I'm here as a person who's sharing. I don't need a therapist. I know everything about Maria. And when Maria comes into a room, I can say I'm sorry when I'm wrong. And I also know that I'm open-hearted and that I'm not hiding myself. And then I know how to mind my own business if somebody decides that they want to hide their own self, because I've been meeting them since as a kid. And now I just know what it is. And so it's not in my business to open your heart. No, I can have a key to my heart. You have a key to yours. And then there's love. Love is in the air. Mana, 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 mana. But again, for me, it's easy to be Maria in connection, because why would I ever hide myself? I don't need to be unseen. I don't need to be unheard. I don't need to be unknown. I don't need to be ashamed. I don't need to be brilliant. I don't need to be anything. I'm so sorry, I forgot my mother. She's Neapolitan. I'm a cockroach, and she'll still love me. So because I'm unconditionally loved with my flaws and imperfections, and I have a twin who I got to repair ruptures with, I thought that different just meant that we don't have to get along. I say tomato, you say tomato, potato, potato. Like, isn't that how it works? Genuine intellectuals will have fun here because that's exactly what we are, and we spot the pseudo intellectuals and we get to make fun of them, and we get to make fun of our fearful brothers and sisters. They're not Lucifer. I'm not joking. I will call them drama kings and queens because the ones who have chosen to basically disrespect their inner child, they don't care. And they're not assholes. They're just playing on a karma wheel. And their 0-8-year-old is there. So I'm going to use news stories. They're all Peter Pan with Lost Boys and Wendy's. And we know they're Wendy's. They're the silverbacks who like to think that they know how to be a real man, real woman, in real day. And again, it's very fun to make fun of them without pointing them out because that's good manners. Because, otherwise we would be the same shame, blame, fault, revenge, martyrs, superior blamers who are codependent and still need Patrick Tian and who actually weaponize psych education. And they say, I'm a healer, how dare you try me dump? And I don't do that. Again, I'm not a healer. You heal yourself. I'm a lover. And I'm a person who loves to love, live, laugh, learn, expand, and not cast stones. And I have a horse, and she is really mighty, and I have a star, and she's also mighty, and I have angels, all of you. And we can all be angels. And I have lovely Jesus and God. He is discerning, equanimous love, and Holy Spirit. Amazing. So when I'm in the desert and I don't let go of the hand, I'm not upset. And I'm not confused. And I'm not destabilized. I actually, like I share my little angry butthole with my mother, I get to share my little angry butthole with my lovely God. And I get to have a chit chat. And then I get to also laugh. And then I get to also say, okay, I get to accept that I know Maria's walk and that every soul has chosen what they're going to do and that they have the free will to choose if they want to be here and stay here or not, because we don't choose for anybody what that is when they're faced with their own soul's mission. In safety, lovely Patrick Tian shares he awoke to the reality that being in a car with a drunk driver is obviously dangerous. As a child, when instead it was just part of his everyday life and his brothers and sisters if he has any. In safety, he says he awoke to the reality of how the neglect from the other parent was life-threatening and terrifying. And in safety, he also awoke to how when we were little, the disconnect and fear we're about not having someone home and constantly waiting. And so once again, the shock is a healthy awakening, he says, but it's intense and sobering. When you have a person who does understand what true love is and that emotional invincibility is because we know how to be okay with being seen, to be soothed, to be safe, to be secure, to be yourself, then you're going to come at HP because you don't want to drag some pain point around and be a teenager version of yourself. Because that's what we got with the Ursulas and Yzmas and the Cuscos and the people who continue to play like they know it all. And I do think I know. No, I don't know it all. That's the part. I'm a seeker. And I know what I know and I know what I don't know. So freedom is yours when you're able to know that you don't have to suffer, but you choose to get out of the mindset. And then you choose to work with the body. And then you understand, do we have a window welcome to all that's going on, and do we have the capacity to bring up that first 3 years of life and say, I do want you and I to be open-hearted, safety, connections, and more. So safe haven, secure base. It means that you are soothed with your nervous system in sharing with me your anger, your sadness, your fear, your disgust, your happiness, your surprise. You're safe to share with me your shame, your blame, your fault, your revenge. You're safe to share with me the terrifying shit that happened. You're safe to share all of it. All of it. Okay? That's not because I'm the only confidant that you may have. No, you don't want only one person. That's the beginning of your journey. You acknowledge, because see, this is why people with the spiritual bypassers and savior complex, they say you don't lose people. If you're a securely attached, self-led person, I didn't lose shit. The people who don't want to be my friends, it's because I'm polyamory. I'm a mystic. I am a person who doesn't have time to talk to you all the time because I'm busy. I got so many ways. I'm not codependent. I don't pat you on the back. I'm a straight shooter and I don't assume things. And there you go. So in my lifetime so far, 45, I got 2 women. 2 women. That's it. That I can remember right now that actively are not They've made it clear how I need to leave them alone, and I respect that. And that's where I've told one of my lovely friends, I said, look, dude, because this is a friend of mine, he looked me in the eye and he said, Maria, save me. You can save me, I know. And I said, before I make a pact with you, I need to tell you something. Once you let me in and you just ask something specific, I don't lie. And I won't ever lie to you. Are you sure? Because I'm like that little kid that hangs on to your leg and I won't let go. And there ain't nothing that you can do to make me let go, because I've decided that I'm going to stay here because that's how much I love you. And so I said, just make sure you are okay with this, because no bullshit. You're going to have to tell me if you don't want me in your life at a certain point, because that's how I am. Like, you're just going to look, I'm sorry, you're out. I don't, and so that's where I can respect that, because I got rejected. I know what it's like to be told no, and I reject. Immunity isn't enough to be saluted. So there's your masculine right here. But I'm an empowered one now, and I'm an empowered feminine too. So I do dharma, not karma. And that's the part of why I do know about my masculine story, thanks to a lot of things. No, thanks to one of my most recent hypnotherapy sessions. I got to see something and I'm like, yep, that looks about right. That makes a lot of sense. And since we're living in Dharma now on planet Earth, I love that I get to be my own empowered feminine and my empowered masculine on all of those past lives up to now. So I've zeroed it all out, like anybody else who's in our 5D collective, and that doesn't matter if they're mystic or not. They're doing Dharma because their prefrontal cortex is locked in and loaded, and they want emotional invincible mindset. Do you understand? Good. Yes. And so as we build our community moving forward, I know being yourself means you say, yes, I get to do Maria. No, you get to do you, I get to do me. And then we get to make fun of the ones who don't want to be actual themselves. And so as I conclude, let me think, what story would I share with you? I don't want to bring us down, so I'm going to try and share it in a way that is not a downer, but when I came out of all my attachment trauma courses, in the first at least couple years, I would cry alongside all of my classmates, the ones who actually are healed themselves, because some are not. And we would wonder, how do we get all this stuff out to people? How do we help people? How do we help everybody, to turn to helping each other and da-da-da. And we just kept getting told, don't worry, it's happening. And it's happening. So while the emotionally immature people will stay together because they're safe with cognitive dissonance and structural dissociation, it's okay because we have laws, as we always have. Our human species evolves with laws. So while there are the 4D and 3D who are worried about the future, the 5D is not, because we know where we're headed, because we're the intelligent minds. So that's how I want you to understand. We feel sad, I know I do, for every one of my brothers and sisters who will not choose to save their inner child, and they will commit to being cowards and to live a life of shame and defectiveness, following assholes around and thinking of those assholes as actually men, women, and days to look up to, while they are not to be looked up to, because they abandoned their inner child and they think they can actually dismantle modern day therapists all by themselves, thinking they're actually the most amazing geniuses with subject matters that instead we continue to have researchers. So once you have decided that you think you can be a better expert with all these experts out there, you have turned your ego into a blind one. So you are going to be clear to those of us who do know what knowledge means, because we may not like all of everyone, but we know what it means to come together as intellectually intelligent human beings who know that anything can be good or bad, anything can be, we need guidelines, not fixed in little boxes. That's not how that works. You don't need anything rigid when it comes to humans, because we evolve as a species, and so societal culture is what's evolving. And I already knew this was going to happen, and now that I'm understanding more and more again who our 3D, 4D brothers and sisters are, it's really not a big deal. We have communities that live very much well without mingling and tingling with us, and so, they think, it makes me think of the Roman Empire. That's all I can say. My history class, when I got told about the Roman Empire and how they could have maybe saved themselves, but then they played their hand and they didn't. And then I think about a lot of other things, which I won't bring into the mix. So for me, what I got to understand was I am not the person who gets to choose love for you. I'm the person who says, I can show you a world. Na 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 na. Splendors. Tell me, princess, when was the last? But I'm not Aladdin, and I'm not even Jasmine. But if anyone, I'm going to be a Jasmine, because Aladdin didn't have to fucking dress up and become a king, and nobody asked him to be a performer. So you're a liar, Aladdin. I mean, really, you're just pissing the fuck off of me, just like Cusco is. And, well, again, I don't like any of the endings of all of these things because they continue this emotionally immature shit. And so I'm going to give you a different version, which is, no one needs to be pretending. The minute you're pretending, I'm just thinking, grow a pair. That's, as I told the teenage boyfriend, grow a pair. A securely attached woman will not be pitying you, because that's actually disrespectful. An attachment trauma educated human being won't be pitying you, because that's actually sad, and not even it's sad. Once you see Peter Levine's face, Bezo van der Kolk's face, you see these people as Dr. Daniel Siegel, you actually witness what a disorganized attachment child looks like, and then you pick up on their nervous system. It does not make you say it's just and that's why when I look at YouTube, I am not fond of pseudo-intellectuals. Now that I've been able to learn how to spot them again, I'm going to highlight educational podcasts. And I'm going to allow myself to make fun of those who are idiots. And those who are idiots, though, are looked up to by the same ones who are the cowards, who are cowards, though, for something they didn't choose, which is why Robert's post could come on Indetermined. Thank you so much. And why God says, Maria, don't judge human suffering, a waste of your fucking time, because you're going to keep on learning how to expand, one, you from it, but also let other people know what we can do as a 5D collective with Dharma. And when you hear people think that they're going to save humanity because they think they've got the key to unlocking everyone's, you just got a teenager in the room. Anybody not understand how it works? 8 billion people. You don't actually do anything alone, and nor does humanity. And if you have an empowered ego, you're going to participate with the empowered egos. And authenticity always thrives, because that's what has won. Intelligence wins, because life is not stupid. And Mother Earth doesn't eat her children alive, nor does God. So anybody who's, again, talking about monsters as those who would be our creators are the ones who had the monsters in their homes, because they're the same children who think. I always wondered, how could you even think that God would be mean to you? But when I got explained by a human being how they suffered life, to then also be given the scare of my life, to then be completely not told anything, to then me not knowing about any of this avoidance stuff, to then me learning about it and saying, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's good. So I don't worry when I got a safety behavior person, because they've chosen to lie to me and to lie to themselves, and they've chosen not to give two shits, and they will continue that because of the lack of self-awareness, accountability, and desire to regulate in their ventral vagal state, but to make up some sob-ass excuse and a story and whatever, and they don't have any respect for themselves, let alone for another human being, because they can't. Like Stephen Porges said, they physically can't give to me. They can't give to themselves. They are not hurting my feelings because it's not personal. They're making my heart sad for the inner child. Yeah, that's about it. I'm going to cry tears for the inner child that will never see the light of day because of their asshole teenager who doesn't want to meet themselves, and that's it. I don't find assholes interesting. I find them idiotic. There's no Lucifer in an asshole. That's what a securely attached, self-led woman will say, which is why an avoidant going on screen and telling me about how they're going to stay avoidant, and another one thinking you can break a secure... You don't know secure attachment. That's why you think someone's breakable, and you obviously didn't meet one who knows how to be actually securely attached. I most definitely was an anxious one, but thanks to my mom, and that's the only person who still gets it, and my twin. But what I'm saying is they met those who are weak with the thoughts, and weak with the heart, and weak with the gut. I ain't weak, and I'm an 8 in my personality pattern. In fact, it actually all matches to T. No, the P2P framework, but my patterns, yes, I'm a 1, I'm a perfectionist, and a 2, and an 8. And that 8, I will not appear to be weak. I'm strong. And actually, I'm not strong physically. But emotionally, I don't think I'm strong. I'm just in my prefrontal cortex. So emotions last 90 seconds. Please do remember that when you're using your prefrontal cortex. That's why fancy woman in suit thinks we have no emotions. You physically cannot have no emotions. The somatic therapists call it an angry Buddhist. I am not a Buddhist. I am an angry Christian Catholic who is a mystic, who is a polyamory human being. I love polyfidelity as my lovely little vessel. You know all about it, and I do not love you not poly enough. That actually is not polyamory. So again, integrity, virtue, yes, you are virtuous when you can bring me yourself. You are not virtuous when I get to not meet yourself, but I will not be saying anything, as my mother taught me manners and God taught me not to play a know-it-all. And, you know, at the end of the day, what I did learn about suffering is they waste your time because they continue to be the same cowards they always were. The same teenagers that I met who were 11, 12 and pretending to be mean, and I knew they were not mean and they were being mean on purpose. No, they were afraid. I'm afraid. Aren't we all afraid? I'm not afraid of fear. I mean, I'm afraid of dying, but that's not because I'm afraid of death. I just don't want to die. Am I afraid of humans? No. No. I have a good gut. I remember one of my most favorite dreams. I woke up from it. I said, I'm going to love this day like it was the last day of my life. And I remember who saved me. And I remember why. And then I remember also what I did. And I'm not sharing all those details on purpose, but that's the very same day that I reminded myself that some people don't care that you have 24 hours and that you might die tonight, because that's how people are when they don't mindfully choose to live life as their true self. And that's in a body that is alive and that knows that you have one life to live as your human name. I know I will be back in the future, and I know who will not. And I know why. And so you don't have anyone choose love. They choose it if they want it. And that's when they'll become maybe emotionally invincible. Depends. If they say, I want that, Maria, I want lifestyle. And you say, there's a Zen master for you. I'm out. So we are securely attached, higher self-led people who I will make sure to use that word emotionally elite, and invincible. But I will also make fun of it because seriously, if you need it to sound fancy to do it, then you're not here for the right reasons. I'm not looking for fancy medals of honor. I'm looking to be told I'm a good girl. I'm so good. No, I'm not. I'm good and not good. The minute I became a mystic, I'm like, okay, please, you do realize you're talking about cutting cords, energy vampires, that you've been born before. Like, you know, if you're an old soul, especially, I'm assuming you've been on the other side. You don't think so, huh? I see. So you think there's energy vampires around. I gotcha. Okay, well, I mean, it is what it is. Fearful brother and sister, you go hang out with the Zen master. So again, anyone who's looking for a medal of honor hasn't taken ownership of their 1-year-old and their human secondary consciousness. I have ownership of it. That's why I'm an expert yogi, even without ever having been with a yogi. Because thanks, Sadhguru, as he explains to the crowd, the expert yogis get taught darkness. It's the young yogis that we say, you're light. But once they become experts, we tell them all about darkness. Like, I already know darkness. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk to you again. Thankfully, I don't have to tell you all about it. But there's a lady in the crowd who gets scared. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so sorry for the lady. Can you stop teasing her, said Guru? You are a guru, though, so I get it. You know, you're trying to say, what, are you afraid of the dark? And she's like completely just upset. Which makes me think of existential physics. Sabine, I didn't die. I haven't read it yet, but I'm okay with you explaining everything about existence. In fact, actually, here's funny. It's funny when you have people who tell you they think that there's somebody in the philosophical group of people who's making a big difference. So whenever I hear any of this, well, how dare you, Maria? Well, I am an ancient soul. So I kind of know things like any other ancient soul, and it's not our first rodeo, and I'm having a good time. And I don't put any information on pedestals because I'm a genuine intellectual. I'm always curious. I'm a seeker, and I have an integrated brain. And this is where, let's see, where's the word that they use? redefining existentialism for the 21st century. They're redefining it with, let me try and be vague so that you don't find what I'm talking about. And that's because, again, there are those who are motivated by dragging around this shit. And I'm just like, this is not actually anything new. You must not know of evolutionary psychologists to inform you that I need one human being to live. And that's because my body, my biology knows that fucking bear is going to eat me alive. My body also knows that the men who are real men are the men I want. So they need to know how to use two sides of their brain and know how to use their ventral vagal state. Otherwise, they're actually not needed because they're a dying breed. And also they don't know how to use their angry Buddhist. They don't know how to manage angry or certainty of anger. So they're not smart. No, yeah, they're actually volatile, which makes them very, very much like a 3-year-old. And if you have a tantrum, I got a 16-year-old, so yeah, so yes, we're more afraid of being alone than being dead. It's basically your human mammalian heritage to want one securely attached, which is why the minute you are closing yourself off from love, real love, means you're afraid of it, which is why I won't force you to open up your heart at all. That's completely unkind to a child who didn't get safe home. That's why it's very important for me to let you know. The human secondary consciousness is that you know you're alive, you know that you're dying, that you can die. Then you have an embodied brain that has a 0-1-year-old who wants one secure attachment figure. So if you had a good household or not, doesn't matter. That's going to be that first stop. If you still have unfinished business, you just play it out like that's how life is going to always go. And you're going to commit to it. You're going to say, yep, life is this, whatever is the story you told yourself. So when I see that, I think of a movie that pissed the fuck off of me. And as I'm finishing the movie, I said, serves you right. Because you don't know what it is to love. And you actually played the coward. So in this movie, this human being is about to sneak away in the night from a home that offered him everything. Everything. And he wants to leave in the night, making an excuse that this way he's going to give a smaller heartbreak. But because there's the wise person who knows what he's about to do, because again, wise people know what the cowards do, he makes himself visible. And I'm like, wow, you didn't even have the guts to say, thank you so much. Let me give you a hug. I really just am committed to that, which I want to do, because you're not really committed to what you want to do for the right reasons, by the way. You're just being a rebel because you're spiting. So here's where that subconscious, and it's not self-sabotage, as our lovely Janina Fisher points out, but you get to watch it as they honor the people who are the rebels. So this dude ends up dying. This is a real story. And he dies, and in his ending, it's what is life without smiling, what is a smile without being able to share it? Well, no shit, Sherlock. Wow, that's not amazing at all. And I'm not going to cry you a river because there's Patrick Tiahan for people like you. There's Patrick Tiahan for anybody who wants to tell me that life is hard because of their everything. And then there's Dr. Daniel Fox for borderline personality and narcissism. There you go. I'm a know-it-all. So again, I don't want any of those people who think that people can stay. You know, we understand. I understand. I'm not in favor of those who want to patch things up. I'm in favor of giving the blunt truth, which is you don't have to do integration, but that is where we want to head in time. You don't have to do restorative embodiment. That is where your body is headed in the first place, because your biology, your embodied brain is smarter than this left mode. And even though, you know, the womb, so there's an explanation again, okay? Just saying. So please, again, if you do love, live, laugh, learn, come back around. I love that you're still here, obviously. But if you don't, it's okay. You don't have to do it. I get it. I really do. I'm 45. I've met plenty of people who chose the desert. It's okay. God keeps chiming in because he tells me, Maria, remember your brothers and sisters, they have their own body, you have your own. And when they tell you that they know what path you walked, you say, yes, I got very lucky in life. I am super duper amazed. Oh, by the way, I do feel lucky. Are you lucky now? So I'm lucky for a lot of reasons. But my point is when people get irritated by those of us who are this, And I'm not used to noticing it anymore because I got used to noticing it when I was a kid, and I got used to leaving it alone because I would say, wow, they really want me to suffer. That's sad. I guess I'll just need to remember that they don't want me to be happy in life. I guess they don't love me. Yeah, but it's okay. I love them because, they're not really going to make me do what they do. I don't live life the way you live. I live life Maria's way. Don't you know? I differentiate, and therefore I'm in my ventral vagal state, and I get to bring to you myself, and then you get to bring to me you. And I am very much in favor of you have the freedom of expression. As long as you don't touch me, cool. You don't disrespect me, and I'll make sure to correct you if you do. There, we're good. Hey, what's up, Cusco? You doing great? Oh, emotions, I'm still here. I just will know how it's working, because if I'm not expanding, you've decided that you don't want this. That's okay, because I'm here as myself. So it doesn't get harder to love. It doesn't get harder to look to the future. You don't get bitter or resentful, and you don't think of men or women or theys as betraying each other. And you also don't think of cheating, because really there's, again, a very good, fully secure community out there. You don't have to be a part of it, but there's enough with the cheating business. I'm just saying that's the coward's game again for men, women, and theys, and telling me they have virtue. No, they don't have virtue. If they did, then they'd get some balls and go to Terra Real, and they'd do something about it. And they'd also have compersion. And they'd also, just understand that every couple is different. There would be open-minded people who are. So I know that if you're here, you're knowing this. And you meet the ignorant ones, just remember, there's plenty more of us over here. We just need to keep building our community so that we can chit-chat together. That's the fun part. So genuine intellectuals who are also societally cool, and the younger generation, I'm 45, remember, so I don't have the honor to always be around the younger generation. But the ones who are there and who are here where I'm at, I know that they might be back just because they can hang out with people who are totally like, yeah, let's talk about the future. Let's talk about how things are. And yeah, talking. So that's why the secure attachment self-led group is considered boring, because we don't do any of the hissy fit stuff. I like it instead because I like genuine intellectual conversations, and then I like when we can make fun of the pseudo-intellectuals but also find their golden nuggets, because again, they do a great job at being doers. Fabulous. That's actually an unfortunate childhood trauma personality type. I'm compared to that because on the external, that's what I look like. It's the internal that changes. I know the difference. People who are not ventral vagal state yet, they don't know the difference, because I want that, I want now. And you say, well, you're not going to get it that way. I mean, panic attacks, we can thank those. For me, yes, my life is perfect. The panic attacks, freeze response. I didn't get clinically dissociated though. So my brain and embodied brain, it could be my genes, the alleles, which is why as a woman, I know exactly what type of man has what type of genes. And again, I ain't looking for the one who uses their brain stem, because that means it's not a smart one. It means it's a reactive one, which means they think that choking me is cool. Not cool. Not cool at all. And definitely ancient news. People who are in their little sympathetic. Okay, enough. I've shared enough. Love, live, laugh, learn, expand, and we'll be back with more. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for stopping by.